Hi, I'm the strategist. My name is Victor Onyekere. So when you're trying to get something with self-effort and willpower, right? You have stepped out of grace. There is a labor of law and there is the labor of grace. So the labor of law is a work that you sent yourself, and the labor of grace is the work that God sent you. So when you find yourself struggling to push through a certain thing in life, whether it's a career, a job, a relationship, your finances, there's that struggle to get something, even if it means you and somebody, you are in a competition in that sense, and then it feels like you're trying to get something and you've struggled and struggled, you've used a lot of self-effort, right? That is when to step aside and lean on the grace of God, right? And allow God to step into that situation. And it's super important because in the book of Matthew 11, 28, 29, somewhere in, I think around 28, 29, 30, talks about learning the unforced rhythm of grace. There is the unforced rhythms of grace. You need to learn that. So that unforced rhythm is not force. All right. So when you are forcing it, then it is no longer the operation of grace. When Paul was talking about, I labored more than every single person, all of them, because of the grace of God that was, working in me. So it's the labor of grace, not the labor of law. All right. So that labor of grace is where, God steps into that situation and begins to give you specific instructions. And when you act on those instructions, you just find out that, you get results, right? Just like Esther and Mordecai, there was that specific instruction that God was giving unto them. I'll give you a story. I'll share a story that happened 2022, when I was house hunting, in the early part of 2022. So there was this house I saw at, Yaba. I really loved it. And I wanted to move into the house, right? I checked it out and everything. And so there was a comma. They were looking for they were not looking for single people. Of course, for those of us in Lagos area, we know this is one big bottleneck with landlords, right? So they were looking for married people. Maybe single people have shown them a lot of shaking, right? So they were looking for married people, and so I told my agent, I'm not married. And he was like, you are married now. You have to be married, though, because this house, you can't miss it. So I went back, I thought about it, and I said, you know what? Okay, I'm going to say I'm engaged. So I called up my friend Esther. So, if Esther is watching this video, she would laugh because she knows. I told Esther that we are already engaged. I'm just telling you on the phone now that you are engaged to me, and she laughed about it. So I told her that once they call you, because there's this how they verify. So once they call you, just know that you are engaged to me. And then I filled the form. I wrote engaged to be married in 2 months. Me. So I wrote engaged to be married in 2 months, right? And that was really very funny thinking about it right now. Guess what? After all the kata kitty, I didn't get the house. I didn't get the house. I really didn't get the house. And so when another house, came out, which is the house I'm currently in right now. So when it came out, I'm like, okay. And though, there was nothing around, she'd be married or single, but they lean towards married people. There's this thing about being married and responsibility. Well, that's another conversation for another day. So, and when I got the form from my agent, I'm like, what am I going to do here? I looked at it. I remembered my experience before with the other one, where I said I was engaged when I wasn't engaged. So I just wrote, I'm single. I said, listen, if I'm not going to get this house because I'm single, then it's not for me. So I understood that learning the unforced rhythms of grace. I just filled the form, declared everything I am, right? So, and I went to sleep, right? I just went to sleep. And I think I reached out to, the agent who was verifying, or the facility manager in that sense. And he said, oh, Victor, your name is on the list now. I didn't even know. He gave me account and then I paid the money, right? So I just learned that when you begin to do all this self-effort and self-will, you step out of grace. And so I want to challenge someone here today, listening to this. It's super important to know that you don't need to use self-effort, right? When you are struggling, whether it's even a relationship, I see a lot of people struggling, or just struggling to make it work while putting that self-effort. Remember, there is a labor of grace, which is God giving you specific instructions. And if you send yourself on anything, God is not responsible for the outcomes that come out from that particular thing. It is the things that God has told you, the words you received concerning that particular thing. And that is really how you step into, what God has designed for you. So learn the unforced rhythms of grace and walk in it. When you find yourself struggling, using self-effort, and you're not getting results, take a step back, right? Reimagine that particular thing that you're doing, and then lean towards heaven, lean towards the grace of God to supply you that specific instructions that you need, to drive the work, right? So once you get that instruction, you align your behavior towards it or to it, guess what? You would always get results. Always. I've tried this, it works. So you can go try it today.